The Cowboys versus the Wolfpack sounds like a classic rivalry, but it's the first ever meeting between NC State and McNeese State. It's the final game for both teams before the Christmas break, and it's next on ESPN 3. You're watching college basketball here on the ACC Network Extra. Hello, everyone. We welcome you here in Raleigh, North Carolina, inside the PNC Arena as the 9-2 NC State Wolfpack square off against the 3-7 McNeese State Cowboys. Alongside ACC legend Chris Corciani, I'm Andrew Sanders. Glad to have you on board for tonight's broadcast. Chris, McNeese State comes in just 3-7, but they've got a really good senior point guard in Jemiah Burr. 4.5 assists per game for him.
I tell you, Jemiah Burr is going to be fun to watch. He's a senior leader, very athletic guard. He's averaging 12 points, 4 assists. He's the guy that stirs the drink for the Cowboys.
Scoring actually a little bit down from last year when he led them because they want him to distribute the ball a little more. They feel like they have a couple more shooters this season. On the other side for NC State, they've got an impact freshman center in Omer Yurtseven, and he's only been able to play the last 2 games of the season. Maybe coincidentally, those 2 games have gone pretty well for the Wolfpack.
I tell you, Andrew, I don't think there's any coincidence with that. Since Omer's been in the lineup, the Pack is playing at a very elite level. His numbers don't jump out at you, but his presence on both ends of the floor do.
NC State is a perfect 7-0 at home. They have won 4 games in a row. This is the final non-conference game for McNeese State before they open up Southland Conference play on the 31st. Malika Boo wins the tip for NC State, and we're underway in Raleigh.
It's interesting, Andrew, McNeese State playing man-to-man. When they beat Tulane last week, the second half, they played a lot of zones, so we'll have to keep an eye on that.
Boo will drop it inside to B.J. Anya with the left hand.
I think we're going to see a big dose of that. And talking to Mark Gottfried earlier today, they think they have a huge advantage on the interior, and they want the ball going inside to Abu and Anya early.
Yeah, you mentioned McNeese State's win over Tulane. That was a big game for them on the road, and they got that win by being able to pound it inside. They don't have that kind of size advantage here tonight against the Wolfpack.
No, they certainly don't. That's something that NC State has a big advantage in. And here goes Dennis down. You're going to see something special.
The steal and the slam for Dennis Smith Jr. and NC State quickly out to a 4-0 lead.
This is exactly the start that NC State wanted. You know, they didn't want to be lackadaisical, thinking about Christmas, where they're going, if they've got more presents to buy. They wanted to focus for these 40 minutes.
Shot is up and in by Labarius Hill, the junior from Alabama, as the rim is kind off the glass. And McNeese State is on the board. Here's Terry Henderson, led the Pack in scoring last time out against Fairfield. Abu missed everything, and it's rebounded by Stephen Ugochukwu. Long 2. Also rattles in. This one good for Lance Poche.
Well, I love the way Burr pushed the ball up the court, found the shooter, and he knocked it down.
That's something really important to note on McNeese State. They're one of the top teams in the country in terms of offensive tempo. There's a 3 for Dennis Smith Jr.
I tell you, he's a special player, Dennis. I don't think NC State has seen the best of Dennis Smith. He's got great numbers, but he's capable of taking over games all by himself. Which
is scary for other teams in the ACC because Dennis Smith, the only player for NC State that has scored in double figures every game this season. He's already halfway there. Make it 8 for TSJ.
I think he's feeling it tonight. I tell you, when his jump shot goes down early, he's very difficult to guard.
You see how quickly the Cowboys will look to play? But the shot by Burr is off the mark. Oh, he thought about a heat check there.
I'll tell you what, he should have let that one fly. You make 2 in a row, Andrew, you've got to let it go.
Good hands in there by Jaron Greenwood. Knocked the ball out of play. McNeese State is led by Dave Simmons in his 11th season. Longtime coach, the 2011 Southland Coach of the Year when he led the Cowboys. Here's a lob. Watch out!
I tell you, that's the kind of thing Dennis Smith is doing. He's getting in the lane. He's not forcing. He's really distributing the ball there with a great pass to Boo with the finish. Getting back to Simmons, he does a great job. He's got a new arena that's going to be built for him, and it's only going to help the McNeese State program. He also was a grad assistant for Louisiana Tech way back when Carl the Mailman Malone was playing.
That's great stuff. Yeah, Coach Simmons, quite a player at Louisiana Tech. Here's Henderson, and a wide open rebound for Anya, but he's guilty of pushing over Labarius Hill. That'll be Anya's first foul.
BJ has him by about 60 pounds and just kind of brushed him, and that was enough to put him on the bench.
There's another look at the
Great
alley.
Look. And it's good to see Abu get involved early. He's the one guy that's been a little inconsistent for NC State. I'd like to see him play harder for longer stretches.
Burr surveys the court. He finds Greenwood. Long three is short, and Omer Yurtseven, we talked about him in the open, seeing some earlier minutes than he has in previous games for the Wolfpack. Well, you can't leave this man open. Torin Dorn, one of the best shooters in the conference at 56%, is going to knock that down.
I tell you, he's steady Eddie. You know exactly what Torin's going to give you every night.
No shot. Stephen Ugochukwu is fouled.
That's the one thing in the early games, NC State hasn't done a great job of defending the ball handler. There's Mark Godfrey. He's doing a great job here at NC State. NC State's been to 2 Sweet 16 in the last 4 years, and the NC State faithful is hoping that continues.
And Labarius Hill, he just got pushed over by Anya. This time he pushes over Yurtseven, and that'll be his first foul. So we expect a high-scoring contest, and we've gotten that so far. NC State already 14 points through the first 4 minutes and change.
Yeah, McNeese State, they like to go up and down. They like to push the tempo. The problem with that for them, they don't have the depth that NC State has. And a lot of times you'll see in the second half with teams that have a lot of depth, when they insert players, there's no drop-off.
Right.
And that's a luxury that NC State has this year.
Yurtseven will hand off to Henderson, who will curl and hit. Well, you said earlier after the quick 5-0 start for NC State, that's how they wanted to have started. They've been able to extend that now for several more possessions.
I tell you, they're very focused tonight, playing well, playing with a lot of energy and enthusiasm.
Burr will get a screen from Hill into the trees. And the Cowboy turnover will lead to our first media timeout. NC State behind Dennis Smith Jr. out to a 16-6 advantage. Back here in Raleigh, it's been the reigning ACC Freshman of the Week, Dennis Smith Jr., who's out to a hot start.
No doubt about that. He came out of the gates firing, knocking down a couple threes and getting out on the break for an easy one. And there you see him dishing the ball, doing what a point guard should do. Keep your big man happy.
And there are the two games that earned him ACC Rookie of the Week, 22 and 17 for Dennis Smith. And an illegal screen, pardon me. Yeah, it was an illegal screen against Yurtseven. That's what I thought it was initially, and then I thought I saw them call something else. So
yeah.
Yurtseven will pick up his first. Here's a look at a freshman for McNeese State, and this is Ledoux. He's fouled on the three by Henderson. And Caleb Ledoux is the best three-point shooter on the team for McNeese State.
There you see him getting an open look. He's the one guy from McNeese State that really shoots the ball well, shooting at 44%. At practice earlier today, the coaches at NC State were emphasizing the dribble penetration, but this was the one guy they said really can knock down the three. They needed to get out on him, but certainly not the way Terry rushed out and fouled him. See,
46%. He came into this game making 11 of his last 18 threes, that over a 4-game stretch.
He's a good-looking freshman. He's got a twin brother on the team as well that will probably see some minutes as the game proceeds.
Yep, older brother Jacob just by 1 minute. Identical twins. Yurt 7 had that one really stopped dead right on the rim before it rolled off.
You know, that's a good move, but you want to see Yurt 7 going to the basket with more aggression. You know, he's settling for a nice little jump hook, but the coaches want to see him play with a little more aggression going toward the basket.
Foul is against NC State's Torrin Dorn. Also his first foul. Now 5 team fouls for NC State. Maverick Rowan comes off the bench for the Wolfpack. A little post opportunity for Ugo Chukwu. And the 3 is off the mark in the corner from Harvey. And a travel will go against the Cowboys.
That's a shame. Hill really went after that offensive board, and when he got it, just took an extra step. It's one thing McNeese State does well. They really crash the offensive boards, led by Okechukwu.
So you saw the last couple of possessions, first Caleb Ledoux and then James Harvey trying to knock down some threes. And McNeese State, they know, as Abu can't finish, they know that they're going to have to knock down threes to stay in this ball game tonight. Omer Yurt 7's hustle keeps the possession alive. Here's Smith. Big block underneath by Hill. Abu will finish and the foul.
I'll tell you, that's what Abu does best, is going to the offensive glass and cleaning up the missed shot. I really think Abu is at his best when he's playing with a lot of confidence. And he's had that in spurts, but he's the one guy that I really think can take NC State to the next level if he plays more consistent. He has all the tools, the physical talent. And sometimes I think he just doesn't believe quite how good he could become.
Last year he was awfully good. He had 14 double-doubles. And NC State looking for him to do that more this season. He has just 2 so far. Strong take by Burr, and the size of Dennis Smith Jr. was just too much.
It's a good drive, got all the way into the lane but couldn't finish.
This is an open corner 3. Rowan, offensive rebound from Yurt 7.
Well, they're the little things that Omer brings to the table. He got the offensive board, didn't force anything, and then you see Dennis with an errant pass.
Smith looking inside for Yurt 7. And another McNeese State turnover. That's now 3 on the Cowboys as Ledoux just lost the handle. And here comes Markel Johnson. He'll sub in for Terry Henderson.
Well, I've really been impressed with Markel Johnson in the early going of this season. He brings a lot of energy to the court. He's the true point guard, you know, on the floor. You know, Dennis is a great scorer, you know, wonderful player, one of the best players in the conference and arguably one of the best players in the country. But Markel Johnson has really been a surprise for the Pack.
Another sub for NC State. Ted Capita comes in for Malik Abu. Johnson to Smith, the freshman connection.
Well, I tell you, that looks fun, Andrew, to be able to get up by the rim and slam it down the way Dennis does. It's incredible, but wonderful pass.
And another turnover. It's showtime.
Needs to get a timeout here. This one could get away from him.
Dennis Smith Jr. took him 7.5 minutes to get into double figures in this game. Again, he's scored double digits every game this season. That's 12 points for the freshman.
There you see a nice back door. I tell you, Markel Johnson seems to always find Dennis Smith when they're playing together. Here you see it again. Boom, he's way up there.
NC State with a 23-8 lead after the timeout. We're ready to go here. Andrew Sanders and Chris Corciani.
Tell you, it's interesting here, NC State with a little backcourt pressure, and they're capable of doing that because they've got 4 guys that are just freshly into the game with Johnson, Rowan, Yurt-7 and Capita, that's the luxury when you have the great depth that Mark Gottfried has this year.
Harvey will swing it to Ledoux, marked by Dorn. First touch on the ball for Howard Thomas, who subbed in for Liberius Hill. Ledoux for three.
Well, that's tough to do. You could try that 50 times, and that would be tough to do. But a break for McNeese State because it's a jump ball.
Right, possession arrow favors the Cowboys. They're just 3 of 11 so far, so not what they were looking for. They knew they needed a fast start here against the Wolfpack. Ugachukwu with a fine move inside. The junior from Louisville, Texas, scores.
I tell you, they're a different team when he's on the floor. You know, he's only been back 2 games from an injury, and he certainly was the one that propelled him to victory against Tulane last game.
Yeah, it had a career high. Here's a double dribble from Markel Johnson. He had a career high 19 points, also set a career high with 14 rebounds against the Green Wave.
Yeah, he's the guy inside that can really get him points, and they need to really do a better job here as the game at 23-10, NC State with a 13-point lead. They need to really settle down on the offensive end and try to get the ball into Ugachukwu.
So we took a timeout a little bit earlier. We shouldn't have taken a timeout. This is what the stoppage is right now, because this would normally be the under 12 timeout. And so both teams, NC State had the chairs come out on the court. They thought, hey, we're going to take a timeout. And there's some confusion right now, whether we are or not. The officials are saying, hey, get off the court.
Oh, they're kicking the cheerleaders off the court.
Because we already took the under 12 timeout at the call timeout at 12:30.
Oh, that was funny. Cheerleaders were like, we're out here doing our routine.
So they said, hey, coaches, you already got your under 12 timeout.
You got your time. You've already talked to your team. Let's play.
So we will keep playing ball until the under 8 timeout. Glad we got that settled and out of the way.
They want to go inside to their scorer right there, Ugachukwu.
Trying to back down Yurt-7. Little pull up from Burr, and that's a pretty shot.
That's the senior. They needed a bucket there, and that's where you go when you need one, is your senior fiery leader in Burr.
Again, Burr leading the team, just a hair under 12 points a game. Oh, good look inside from Yurt-7. Rowan will score it.
Okay, they're the little things that Yurt-7 brings to the team here. You know, you see a big guy, 7-footer, throw it in Rowan. That's something you don't see quite often.
Ugachukwu misses the 3, and underneath, I think they're going to get Thomas with the push.
Capita does such a nice job, not only rebounding on the defensive end, but really defending. He just needs to learn to defend without fouling, but he's been the one surprise for the Pack on the defensive end. You know, they've got great depth inside now with Yurt-7, Anya, Capita, and certainly Abu.
Markel Johnson calls out the play. And there's Yurt-7 again, cleaning up the offensive glass. Boy, NC State really firing on all cylinders offensively here in the first half. 27 points already.
There's not many guys in the league in the ACC that have better mid-range games than Torin Dorn. He gets within 15 feet, and he shoots that at a high percentage.
Harvey continues to be in this cold streak. Pretty pass from Johnson, and Harvey is going to be called for the foul. It's going to be shooting. He doesn't agree with it. I think it might have been clean. He got a hand in there.
Harvey doesn't agree with it. Either do I. But Torin Dorn certainly likes the fact that he's going to get 2 free ones. Ooh, I'll tell you what. That was all ball there.
Dorn misses the first free throw. Yeah, you know, the old, well, I guess not an old cliche, but it's starting to be a new cliche, is that the mid-range jumper is a lost art in basketball.
I thought you were going to say about that not being a foul, that the ball don't lie, because Torin missed the first one. But
it was half right. He had one hand on the ball, one hand on Dorn.
Exactly.
But as we told you earlier, Torin Dorn better than a 56% shooter from the field. Greenwood finds Ledoux. He'll get it right back. Open three. And McNeese State is just ice cold from deep. They're 0 of 6 now.
Nice pass from Ledoux, and that's one that got knocked down to try to keep it close.
Offensive touch for Capita. Forces it up there.
Yeah, that was a tough shot. Just wasn't a good possession. That's one that Ted needs to kick out. He had time on the shot clock, and Coach Godfrey didn't like that one.
Ledoux, the lefty, gets an illegal screen from Howard Thomas. That's going to be Thomas's second foul already.
Yeah, McNeese State, they don't want to get in foul trouble with Thomas picking up his second with 9:22 left in the first half. They just don't have a deep bench, and they need him out there.
And the first one came on a rebound attempt on this end and then an illegal screen on this end. So, yeah, with all the size that NC State has, defending is going to be awfully tough when you're picking up fouls on the offensive end.
Yeah, those last two NC State possessions were not great. Capita and then Johnson just going one-on-one. They need to move the ball, make McNeese State play defense.
That was a tough three forced up by Ledoux over Yurt 7. And NC State looking to push. There's another offensive rebound for Yurt 7. He's got 5 boards already.
Well, that was a great look-ahead pass by Markel Johnson.
Quick pull-up. And it's just a 2 for Greenwood, they say. His toe is on the line.
It's a good shot. They got the ball up the court, McNeese State did, and NC State wasn't ready to play.
Johnson, wide open, Maverick Rowan.
Wow, again, give credit to Marquise Johnson. What a great pass all the way on the right side to the left corner. And Maverick Rowan, when he gets his feet set, he's not going to miss a lot of shots.
Johnson is guilty of a foul on Greenwood. That's going to be Markel's first. And NC State, just like that, has just opened up a 19-point lead, and they've done it with, as you see now, Dennis Smith, Terry Henderson, and Malik Abu on the bench.
Well, the thing is, their first unit played extremely well, and they went to their second unit, and there's no difference. You've got guys that would be starting on other teams, and that's the luxury that this team has. They're 9 deep, and all those guys could be starters.
Ugochukwu will back it out. Some shifty moves from Caleb Ledoux. He'll get the roll.
I'll tell you, that freshman is a good-looking freshman. Off the dribble, taking the defender.
Yeah, he was highly recruited. Now 4 points for Ledoux. Big reason why NC State has taken this big lead. Wolfpack shooting 58%, 14 of 24. Sharing the basketball well. Here's a Henderson 3. And Abu is going to be called for pushing off. Second foul on Malik Abu. And that will take us to that under 8 timeout that the coaches were looking for. We'll step aside. NC State 33, McNeese State 16. The annual NBA on Christmas Day tradition continues with 5 of the best gifts anyone could ask for. At noon Eastern, it's the Celtics and Knicks on ESPN. Then at 2:30 on ABC, an NBA Finals rematch between the Warriors and Cavs. At 5, the Bulls take on the Spurs. Then it's back over to ESPN for Timberwolves Thunder, and wrap up the day at 10:30 with the Clippers and Lakers from Staples Center. That's a 5 star-studded matchups that can also be seen on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. I'm Andrew Sanders here with Chris Corciani. Chris, you played in the NBA. Are you going to be taking in any of the NBA action on Christmas Day?
I tell you, that's a marathon worth of basketball. Great games, great matchups. Open up a few presents and then watch a little TV. Nothing better than that.
I've got my eye on that NBA Finals rematch at 2:30 on ABC. Warriors, Cavaliers. That should be a good one. Maverick Rowan again.
Just beautiful. I mean, Andrew, that's good basketball right there. Dennis Smith to Abu. Abu looked around, kicked it out to an open Rowan. This team is very unselfish, and they really like one another, and they want to help one another, and they share the ball.
Caleb Ledoux traveled. And that's another McNeese State turnover. That's now 7.
Tell you what's really hurting McNeese State. They're 7 for 19. They're 0 for 7 from 3. You know, they got to be able to knock down some shots.
Count it. Dennis Smith has had everything working tonight. That's now 3 threes for him.
Well, I'll tell you what, a little step back. That's a bomb. I'll tell you, he's feeling it. And again, when he's shooting the ball well from outside, he's almost, impossible to guard because he's so quick and strong going to the bucket. But he's off to a great start tonight.
4-point play for Dennis Smith Jr. He was 6 of 7 from the outside last time out, and he's already 3 for 3 here tonight. So that 3-point shot is coming along, and that's really the only weakness you can kind of point at his game coming into the last game when he was about 28% from deep, but he's raised that up. He'll try another one.
Like
and that was the heat check you were looking for earlier.
Yeah, that was the one. You're knocking him down. You're able to do that. That's one where Coach Gottfried says, you know what? Go ahead, young fella, let it go.
Jemiah Burr will dice down the lane and get all the way to the bucket.
That's the kind of thing NC State needs to do a better job of, a guy on a missed shot all the way down to the lane. Not only is the defender getting beat on the perimeter, but there's no help defense.
Errant pass gets into the first row, and that will draw the ire of Mark Gottfried. 4 Wolfpack turnovers thus far.
If you're McNeese State right here, you're down. You really need to kind of finish the last 6 minutes. You want to try to get the game to the point where at least the second half you're competing. It's 21 right here, and they need a bucket, a couple good possessions.
And that's going to be too many steps before the basket is made by Poche. He just tripped a little bit. That threw him off balance.
There was good defense. Dennis Smith under control on the defensive side, was moving his feet and created that turnover. Here you see McNeese State. Looks like they're playing a little kind of matchup man-to-man.
And they leave Rowan wide open. Can't do that.
Yeah. I tell you, it's good to see Maverick stepping in, getting open looks. Last year, Maverick had a great year. Really led the team a number of games in scoring, and he was taking tough shots and was making tough shots. This year, with all the talent, you're going to see Maverick getting a lot of open looks like you are tonight.
A look underneath, Labarius Hill. Basket in the foul as Yurt 7 will pick up what will be his second foul.
I tell you what, I don't know how you can play any better defense than Yurt 7 did. I mean, I'd love to see a replay. He had his hands straight up. Sometimes when you're 7 foot, they pick on you a little bit.
Hill with now 6 points. He's chipped in 4 rebounds. He's a transfer from Itawamba Community College. Came over from the JUCO. He's also got a blocked shot to his resume today. Here comes B.J. Anya for Yurt 7. And Coach Gottfried coaching him up. He said his hands were straight up. Coming over from Turkey, he's got to learn, and really any college freshman, you've got to learn how the college game is officiated.
Oh, a little back. Well, I love the emotion. Dennis Smith is excited. He's having fun. He's just having a good time out here. Great pass to the cutting Terry Henderson. And he almost flushed that down.
And you see the reaction from B.J. Anya. I don't know how Anya would have reacted if he had dunked it.
B.J. is fun-loving and always has a smile on his face.
So Terry Henderson makes his first free throw.
Terry Henderson's been very consistent this year, shooting the ball extremely well from the outside. Terry and Torrin early in the year, they've been a big surprise for NC State, being able to get that punch from those guys.
Yeah, Henderson better than 17 points a game. Dorn at 15.5 points per game. Henderson at 25 against Fairfield. And that trio of Henderson and Dorn and Dennis Smith Jr., one of the top scoring trios in the ACC. They're actually third out of ACC trios. And Burr will capitalize on the overplay on the pass.
Yeah, Dennis wants to get out, wants another dunk, so he kind of gambled on that, and Burr made him pay.
But that trio scoring better than 51 points per game. Pretty quick spin move for Anya. And somehow it just rolled out of there.
That was a nice move. He just needed to gather himself.
Here's Burr all the way down the lane, and he couldn't finish between the arms of Abu and Anya. NC State will break the other way. It's Smith, finds Rowan. And Abu hits the boards, little no-look pass, and he overdid it.
I tell you, Abu had the right idea. He just had a little too much mustard on that pass.
You can see it all over the court for NC State, even when they turn the ball over right now. With that 20-point lead, they're having fun.
Yeah, this team likes one another. They share the ball. And, they also know that they got plenty of depth. They need to play hard now. When you got 9 guys that want a lot of playing time, it gives Coach Godfrey the luxury. If they're not playing hard, they can sit next to him.
Poche has that one go in and out. And the shooting woes from outside the arc continue. Now 1 for 10. And that is just not the recipe to get a win on the road for McNeese State. Tough fall-away jumper. And that's about the only thing that hasn't gone in for Dennis Smith. Burr with the pretty feed inside. Ugochukwu missed it. And good hands from Greenwood. We'll turn it right back over.
It was grid play. Greenwood really with the hustle play. Did a good job there.
Henderson blocked the shot and then out and running. And an offensive foul will not please the crowd here in Raleigh. It'll take us to a timeout. So for Henderson, that'll be his second foul. We'll hit the break. NC State up by 20. Friday, we'll have a bowl triple header for you on ESPN. At 1 p.m. Eastern, it's the Popeyes Bahamas Bowl, Eastern Michigan and Old Dominion. Then at 4:30, the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, Louisiana Tech and number 25 Navy. And at 8 o'clock, the Dollar General Bowl, Ohio takes on Troy. All 3 games are also streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. NC State will be in a bowl game the day after Christmas against Vanderbilt. That's the Independence Bowl. I'm Andrew Sanders here with Chris Corciani. Chris, fun fact for you. Did you know that McNeese State won the first ever Independence Bowl back in 1976 with a win over Tulsa?
I did not know that. I did not know.
There's an illegal screen. I think they're going to get Ledoux, and it is Jacob Ledoux getting some of his first minutes.
Dennis Smith comes up a little gimpy with his leg. He's trying to shake it off. Little Charlie horse.
So both freshman point guards on the floor right now for the Wolfpack. This is Markel Johnson, along with Dorn, Capita, and Anya. Tough move inside, and a jump ball is going to be called. It'll stay on this end.
I don't know what it is, but point guards always love posting up. Big guys always love stepping out, shooting three-pointers. But us little point guards, we want to pretend like we're big guys, and we love posting up. There you saw Markel down there at the post.
It just gives you an opportunity to showcase a skill that you don't usually get to show off.
I was really good on those 8-foot buckets. I'd post up and dunk.
Yeah.
Couldn't dunk on 9-foot buckets, but I could do it on 8-foot.
Greenwood commits the foul, and so that'll send Dorn to the line. This will be 1-1 because it's the 19th foul. Dorn, nearly an 80% shooter from the stripe on the season. That's the second one he's missed, though. And we talked about his mid-range game, and he's clearly upset as he goes down the floor, but that mid-range game generally translates pretty well. Well, nearly a carry by Ledoux. Usually translates pretty well to the free throw line. As we go under 2 minutes, Wolfpack up 20, looking for more. Oh, Johnson, couple of nice crossovers. Looking for Dorn to create something here. He'll go to the basket and get fouled, and that kind of saves what was a possession where the ball didn't move around that much.
Yeah, that's the one thing. You're up 20. Sometimes you get away from what got you up 20, and that was moving the ball and sharing it. The last few possessions, they've been quick possessions, and there you saw the ball stay on one side of the court, not go side to side. And that's the kind of thing Coach Godfrey, I'm sure at halftime, is going to say, yeah, we've got a nice lead, but we need to learn how to play 40 minutes. So let's come out the second half and continue to do all the things that got us this lead.
You mentioned NC State sharing the ball well. They're doing it again in this game. 9 assists on 17 made baskets. Last time out on Sunday against Fairfield, the Wolfpack had 25 assists, which is the most for an NC State team since they had 26 all the way back on November 13th, 2011. So it's been 5 years for the Wolfpack since they had that many assists. And this team, as we said, coincidentally, probably not, with Yurt-7 in, they share it more. First minutes for Richard Laku, and he knocks down a three.
That was a good looking shot. He kind of looked at the defender, thought about driving, then knocked down the three.
Also into the game for the Cowboys, Adrian Brown getting some of his first minutes. Another Wolfpack offensive rebound. Capita, he had it swatted. That's what Labarius Hill does, but he also got him with the body.
Capita's very active on the offensive glass. He's always going after it. And there you saw him clean up the miss, and he's going to be rewarded with his efforts for 2 free ones.
Ted Capita, one of the 3 NC State players that missed at least some significant time thus far this season. Omir Yurt-7 missed 9 games. Maverick Rowan missed 7 because he was in the concussion protocol, and Capita missed 4. He missed the opener and the 3 games in the Paradise Jam.
I know a lot of NC State fans early on, they were not really happy with the way the team was playing, but it's hard when you don't have your full team.
Right.
There was some talk about the defensive effort and here and there, but I'm buying the stock on the NC State team. They got a full team, and there's a lot of talent. And this is only the 3rd game that they've had a full roster. So, they're looking a lot better as the season goes on.
Oh, Maverick Rowan. He sailed that one. And that got a look out of Coach Godfrey.
He didn't like that. I'll tell you, Torrin Doran's a great athlete, but I don't think he can jump quite that high.
I don't know if anybody can go get that one. Ledoux for 3. Jacob Ledoux, so far this year, hasn't been quite the same shooter as his left-handed brother, Caleb, from 3-point range. NC State with an opportunity to run this down.
Very smart right there. Coach Godfrey's calling for 1 shot. There's 16 on the game and shot clock, and they're the kind of little things that you have to do when you get to conference is respect the game and the clock.
Big block from Hill. That's his 2nd of the game, and it'll leave 3 on the shot clock. Interesting, NC State's been getting it done here on the line, Chris, but no field goals in the last 5 minutes and 30 seconds. That was about that time period where you said they had a couple of possessions in a row where the ball wasn't moving quite as much.
Right, they're much better, much more efficient when the ball's moving, the players are moving. I think the last part of this first half, the ball hasn't been moving. Their offense hasn't been crisp, and they're the kind of things that the coaches will all address at halftime because, again, when you're playing good teams, you've got to learn how to play not for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You've got to learn how to play for 40 minutes, not only on the offensive end, the defensive end as well.
Defense was a problem for the Wolfpack earlier this season, and they've had 3 straight games in a row now holding opponents under 1 point per possession against Tennessee State, Fairfield, and so far 28 points in the first half. Pretty good defensively.
They have played well here. Here they got 3.2 seconds, plenty of time to get a good look.
Capita banked it in, but it was still in his hand when the buzzer went off. And so that'll take us to the halftime locker room. But the Wolfpack with a 49-28 advantage over the McNeese State Cowboys. We'll take a break and be right back here on the ACC Network Extra. It's halftime here in Raleigh, North Carolina. NC State leads 49-28 at the break. Hello, everyone. We welcome you courtside here in the PNC Arena. Happy holidays. I'm Andrew Sanders alongside Chris Corciani. Chris, we expected a really high-scoring first half, and we got that from NC State, 49 points. McNeese State hasn't been able to keep up.
No, McNeese State, they haven't shot the ball extremely well. NC State is defending. However, they came out, NC State, playing with great energy and effort, exactly the way NC State wanted them to, because they don't want to get coal in their stocking. They want good gifts at Christmas, and so far for NC State, that's what's happening.
Let's take a look at some of the first half highlights. And for McNeese State, we told you about their do-it-all senior point guard, Jemiah Burr. He's got 7 points. He's also dished out 3 assists.
He's doing all he can out there, playing extremely well, sound, solid. There you see him taking it strong to the basket with a little defensive breakdown from NC State. There you see a 15-foot pull-up. But the one guy for NC State that has just kind of taken over early and often is Dennis Smith. He was hot from 3 early. Here you see him pulling up for one of his many threes in the first half. There he's sharing the sugar with Malik Abu. But it's just been a wonderful first half for Dennis Smith.
Yeah, we saw him get out in transition a couple of times, couple of easy dunks for Smith, and he was also handing out the dunks for others, throwing alley-oops left, right, and sideways. So for the Wolfpack, it was a great first half, and we get a look at some of the stats. Why was it such a good first half for NC State? Well, they're shooting 6 of 13 from deep compared to just 2 of 13 for the Cowboys. But what stands out to me is the rebounding.
Yeah, there's no doubt a big deficit on the rebounding side, 29-12. But, you know, we talked about it earlier in the broadcast, is NC State's got great depth.
Yeah.
That helps them. But they have great size. You know, for McNeese State, their big guys are 6'7". For NC State, they got guys 6'9", 7 foot with Yurt 7. So that's a huge advantage, and NC State is really making that work for them.
All right, so we'll take a quick break and come right back. We'll have the ACC scoreboard when we return here on the ACC Network Extra. Here at halftime, NC State with a 21-point lead over McNeese State. Here with Chris Corciani, I'm Andrew Sanders. This is the halftime show. We'll take a look at the ACC scoreboard tonight, and not a whole lot going on around the league, but Miami with an 8-point halftime lead over George Washington at home. Georgia Tech is struggling this year, and they're down to Wofford, but it's still early. And then later on in Winston-Salem, LSU and Wake Forest. So just 4 games across the league here, Chris.
Yeah, not a whole lot of action tonight, but I'll tell you, Miami with an 8-point lead over George Washington. NC State will see them here next week down in Miami, and that's when the fun begins, when you kind of roll up your sleeves and you get into conference play.
Yeah, that game is going to be on December 31st. As you said, it's the conference opener. That's the same date that McNeese State will open up their conference play, also on the road as they travel to Northwestern State, one of their rivals, to kick off Southland Conference play. So that's a look at the ACC scoreboard. We'll take a break and be back. Take a look at the ACC standings and some happenings around the league over the last couple of days. You're watching college basketball on the ACC Network Extra. NC State up 21 at the halftime break. I'm Andrew Sanders here with Chris Corciani. And we're in the PNC Arena. Let's take a look at the ACC standings as we are just outside of conference play. It's almost that time of year. And you look, a lot of teams with just one loss next to their name. Duke got a win last night against Elon. Kentucky and Louisville. How about Louisville beating Coach Cal and the Wildcats? And then also last night, Virginia winning at Cal. Clemson beat South Carolina. And another one that stands out to me, St. John's 93, Syracuse just 60. So you see Syracuse already 5 losses towards the bottom of the league. But all in all, this is a really strong league, probably as strong as it's ever been.
Did Duke play last night? I didn't realize.
You didn't see anything about that at all.
Didn't know anything about that. But Yeah, you know, this league's going to be top heavy. You're going to have to be in the top 8 or 9 if you want to go to the tournament.
Right.
And as you can see, it's, there's going to be 10, 11 teams vying for 8 or 9 spots. Right now it appears Syracuse, Boston College, Tech, Wake, they're going to bring up the rear, but there's going to be a number of teams that are going to battle one another, and you're going to be watching other games to see how they're turning out, and that's going to have a lot to do with whether a team like NC State that's kind of beyond that bubble, they're going to be one of 11 teams probably vying for 8 or 9 spots.
Yeah, I know that you got to feel safe about it, to feel comfortable about it. You've got to figure you're at 8, maybe 9th in the conference. But what do you think about some people saying that the ACC has an outside chance at getting 11 in?
Well, if there's ever been a year, it would be this year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a number of teams, that are going to, it's just all going to depend on who beats who in the league. As a coach and as a program, the best thing to do is go out. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. Just go out and do your thing and win as many as you can.
NC State's Dennis Smith Jr. has completely taken over the first half here. We'll take a look at some of what he's done, and he really started off early with a dunk and a couple of threes, and didn't really slow down.
No, he didn't slow down the whole first half, but, that's why he's one of the elite guards in the whole country. His three-point shot was really falling. There you see the nice pass to Abu, but he gets his hands on a lot of balls, and it creates turnovers that end up with easy scoring opportunities.
Against Fairfield, you see not a bad game against Appalachian State at all, 22.6 assists and 3 steals, but against Fairfield, nearly a double-double, 17 points and 9 assists. And I'm sitting next to NC State's all-time assist man in Chris Corciani. And did you know that was the most assists anyone has had in a game in a Wolfpack uniform since 2011?
Is that right?
It's been quite a while.
Dennis has the capability. He's such a great scorer that sometimes, you overlook what a great passer he is. But he's got all the tools, that is just great to have. And the one thing that I think he's really capable of is really taking over a game, whether it's a big game against Duke or Carolina. He has the ability to just take over the whole game. We haven't had that in some time.
16 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists is the stat line for Smith Jr. at the halftime break. So now let's kind of shift gears a little bit here, Chris. For McNeese State, trailing by 21 in the halftime locker room, but coming off a big win against Tulane. They're obviously a little disappointed with how the first half went. What are the keys for them to get back in this thing in the second half?
I think they need to just relax. They need to kind of have some good long possessions. They've got to get the ball into Ugochukwu. And he's their main guy. He's only got 2 points, and he's the guy they got to try to feed early and often, get them involved. And their shooters need to knock down some shots. They're not shooting the ball extremely well, 2 of 13 from threes.
Right.
And they can see a couple of those shots fall early and just kind of claw their way back in there. They're not going to make up 21 points in 3 or 4 possessions, but slowly chip away at it.
For NC State, you want to just see more of the same that you saw in the first half?
Well, I think that NC State needs to come out with the same temperament, the same attitude they did the first half. Good possession, sharing the ball. Don't get sloppy. For NC State, you want to be able to play 40 minutes. They've played 20 good ones, but now they need to string together another 20.
So we're ready to go here in the second half as NC State head coach Mark Gottfried looks on. McNeese State will start off with the basketball. And here we go. See if James Harvey can get out of this little mini slump. It's been about 4 or 5 games for him. He's one of their best scorers when he's on, but shooting just 28% from the outside. He gets the start here in the second half. Here he is with the basketball. They look to him for offense. He'll kick to Greenwood. And a Rainmaker 3 falls out, last touched by Hill.
Yeah, that's a shame. That would have been nice if that one went down for McNeese State. Nice possession. The ball went from side to side. Very patient, but they weren't rewarded with the 3.
On the floor for NC State, Dorn, Smith, Anya, Henderson, and Abu. This is the starting lineup for Mark Gottfried. Well, inside look. Quick spin from Abu. Shot doesn't go, but he'll go to the line.
I like the way he just attacked the basket. He got the ball, and he didn't settle, put it down on the deck, went all the way to the hoop, and got fouled.
Malik Abu, now a junior from Boston, Massachusetts. First free throw is good, and that's something that has stood out to me, Chris, is even though he hasn't been as dominant in the early part of this season as he was in conference play last year, he's up above 75% on his free throws.
I tell you, Abu works extremely hard at his game. That was one of the weaknesses coming into the season all summer long in the gym. A lot of shots, and that's the only way you get better is just practice, and he has certainly put in the work.
It's not like it's a small sample size either. I mean, he's up there right around 50 free throws at this point with the ones he's taken in this ballgame. And another McNeese State turnover. That's going to be 9 for the Cowboys.
Yeah, that hurts him. But getting back to Abu, you know, when your big guys can knock down some shots, it's just so valuable.
Torin Dorn lost it, got it back, and scores.
Not the start McNeese State was looking for.
Yeah, a couple of baskets for the Wolfpack, couple of turnovers offensively. Smith pushing out on Burr. Burr cuts through the lane, missed the floater short. And it'll be white ball. As the official says right in front of us, your officials tonight, Bill Covington, Bert Smith, and Ray Steins. Dennis Smith, quarterback in the offense with his team up 25. Little lob. And he never really got that look from Abu. So we'll go the other way. It's Greenwood, 18-footer. Big rebound from Labarius Hill, and he scores it.
But a nice play by Hill. Was in good position, went up, got the rebound, then finished with a nice left.
A little bit of pressure from the Cowboys here. We've seen Hill make a couple of athletic plays. They really like his athleticism in his first year on the team. And a foul will be called on Abu. That's 3. And he came on the repost. And I guess they just got him for extending that left hand just a bit. But because they have Yurt 7 available and 4 big guys in the rotation, it just helps as there is Harvey with the 3. That's what McNeese State was looking for. They got to get him going.
I tell you, Harvey hits one, he can hit a bunch of them. When you make your first shot as a shooter, that rim in the basket really just gets a lot bigger. And for McNeese State, that's what they're hoping.
Henderson will answer. And to finish that point on Abu, because Yurt 7 is available, him having 3 fouls at this juncture of the game, not nearly as much of a problem as it was earlier in the year.
Oh, there's no question. With the depth, he can play hard, doesn't really need to worry about being in foul trouble. And that's, again, the luxury of having that depth.
Got a foul away from the ball. This is going to go against Dorn, I believe, and it is his second. Long pass. Smith got a fingertip on it, and he'll jam it.
I tell you, he's a special athlete. To be able to make that play, Andrew, just tip it, then chase it down and do what he does, it's incredible. He's a tremendous athlete, one that I compare to the great David Thompson at NC State. He is that good and that athletic.
Harvey, not this time. Well, you see him rise up for the dunk. You compare him to Skywalker.
He's as far as athletic talent, he's in that same category. And I know a lot of NC State people, they don't like when you say that because David was the best, is the best. But Dennis has that athleticism that's very comparable.
BJ Anya will go to the line when we come back from the break. NC State up 25 as you get a look at the athleticism of Dennis Smith Jr. It's the games we've all been waiting for all season. The college football playoff semifinals on ESPN, December 31st. The first one is the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl at 3 p.m. Eastern. Number 4 Washington battles number 1 Alabama. Then at 7, it's number 3 Ohio State and number 2 Clemson in the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. Both games are also streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. Andrew Sanders, Chris Corchiani here in the PNC Arena. BJ Anya will make the second free throw. You got a college football playoff favorite?
Oh, I'll tell you what, Alabama, they're going to be tough to beat. They've been number 1 all year, but, you know, that's the beauty of the playoffs, you know, the Final Four in football. Anybody can win.
That's right.
And makes it exciting. You know, where years past, we didn't have that.
Saw Ohio State a couple of years ago winning as a 4 seed, but, yeah, I'm with you. It's awfully hard to pick against Nick Saban.
Yeah, defensively, they're extremely tough.
James Harvey. Directing some traffic. He'll send Ugachukwu all the way around. They get it to Burr. Burr, the 11th player in school history with over 300 assists. He's got 3 assists tonight as Hill, looking to go into double figures, will go to the free throw line. That's the second foul on the Wolfpack's BJ Anya. But Jemiah Hill, 300 assists, and he needs just 11 more to move into the top 10 all-time in school history.
That was a real nice move there by Hill. Caught the ball, faced up, had BJ on him, and kind of took him off the dribble. He's very athletic. Coaches are very high on him and expecting big things.
So Hill finds himself into double figures, 10 points and 6 rebounds, couple of blocks, and a substitution for Coach Gottfried. BJ Anya is out, and about 5 minutes into the second half, Omer Yurtseven is in and promptly picks up the rebound. Henderson, a 3.
Tell you, this NC State team shoots the ball extremely well from outside with Henderson, Rowan, Smith, and Torin Dorn. It's a strong shooting team from the perimeter.
And that is not what we expect to see from the senior point guard. He just lost where he was on the court. That's a backcourt violation. Stepped over it.
Tell you, when you're down 28, it's tough to play. And, you know, McNeese State, they just need to relax, play their game. You know, they've got their conference coming up here the start of the new year, so they need to really start thinking and preparing for what's ahead of them.
Yurtseven's going to be fouled underneath. And it's on Hill. 3 fouls now on Liberius Hill. So we see Yurtseven go to the free throw line and played ball in Turkey. Was unable to play due to an NCAA ruling the first 9 games of the season. I know Coach Gottfried and the Wolfpack really disappointed that he got a full 9 games, about a quarter of the season when you look at it, but they're certainly glad to have him now.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, he could have used those early games and to learn the pace of the game, and but he's picking up real well. This being only his 3rd game, the team's starting to rally behind him, but he needs more games to get comfortable and really learn the way the game's played. Over in Europe, I spent 8 years playing basketball over there, and it's a different style of game. It's not quite as fast as the American brand of the game.
Ugachukwu going to work on Abu. He'll kick it out. It's Burr. Another 3 for him, and he's in a double figures.
Very unselfish of Okachukwu. He could have taken it the first time. He didn't. Second time he ends up finding the open Burr for 3.
Dennis Smith is really dialed in from downtown. 21 points for the freshman. So I'll ask you this because some players on the court right now will be NBA players, but several more will probably get an opportunity to play in Europe. Is it easier to transition from the European game to the American style, or to go the other way and go American?
Well, I think it'd be hard. You know, the European game is not as fast, it's not as physical. So somebody like you're at 7 coming over here, or players that have played in America that go over there and play professionally, it's a lot easier. But, you know, historically there's been a number of great European players, starting out with Tony Kukoc and Drazen Petrovic and Arvydas Sabonis, some great ones. And, you know, you look at every NBA roster nowadays, and there's all kind of European foreigners. And, you know, that's the beauty of the NBA, and they love that because marketing and all the exposure the whole world has given the NBA.
Yeah, really a global game as Rowan in transition will kiss it up off the glass. And it's now 71 points for the Wolfpack, still 12:30 left in this one. So that'll lead to a timeout for McNeese State. And we're going to take a timeout as well. 71-37. Dennis Smith Jr. having himself a game, and the Wolfpack comfortably are ahead. Andrew Sanders and Chris Corciani back with you here in the PNC Arena. NC State leads at 71-37, but the members of the McNeese State team getting to take in a pretty cool trip here, not just to Raleigh, but on Tuesday night, they actually flew into Charlotte, North Carolina, got a chance to watch the Hornets beat the Lakers in come-from-behind fashion, and then after the game, Hornets head coach Steve Clifford gave the team a tour of the Spectrum Center. There's going to be a foul as Ledoux is a bit shaken up down low. Foul's going to go against Sean Kirk, who's getting his first minutes of the game. And Ledoux is going to shake it off and go to the free throw line. He'll be all right. Another look at this.
He caught him down at the bottom. He was clean up top, but I think he caught him down low. So that's the beauty of collegiate athletics, is exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah.
It's not all about playing out here for 40 minutes. It's all the other things that you have the ability to experience. You know, that's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that you're discussing. And that's what I try to tell the kids when I'm around them, is just enjoy every moment of it. It's more than just the 40 minutes you're playing basketball. These are great opportunities.
Good little drop-off pass from Johnson to Rowan, who will go ahead and point to the passer. NC State has made their last 8 field goals, and this is the largest lead of the game.
I'll tell you, Rowan does a good job of moving without the ball, knowing that Johnson will find him if he's open.
Rebound from Capita. And yeah, it's interesting you use those words, once in a lifetime. Those are the same words that Dave Simmons used as Johnson hits the jumper. And so Steve Clifford gave him a tour of the Spectrum Center after the game and actually spoke to the team, talked to them about playing with energy, not getting complacent, because sometimes you can play so many games back to back. He wanted them to keep the energy up and play unselfishly, and so that was a pretty cool trip for them. They also got a chance to meet Kemba Walker as well, so it's been a good trip for McNeese State, but they trail it big here in Raleigh. We'll take a quick break and be right back on the ACC Network Extra. NC State up big on McNeese State here on the ACC Network Extra after the under-12 timeout. You know, Chris, the Wolfpack had out-rebounded, or been out-rebounded, I should say, 6 of the first 10 games. But then against Fairfield, they held the Stags to just 2 second-chance points and out-rebounded the Stags pretty easily. That was one of the main concerns for this team. And then as I look here at this game, as Sean Kirk will go to the free throw line, NC State has 37 rebounds compared to just 15 for McNeese State. They're getting it done on the boards in the last few games as well.
Andrew, that's the one telling stat you can look at every game, and most of the time whoever controls the glass is going to end up winning the game. NC State's done a nice job of that. Again, we've talked about their depth inside and their ability to control both the offensive and defensive boards, and that's the kind of thing that they're going to really have to carry over into ACC play that starts here in about a week.
Well, shot fake got Yurt 7 up off his feet. And the tip in is good. That's Richard Leku off the poche miss.
Okay, he's come in, knocked down a three in the corner, real active on the offensive rebound there.
Rowan's off the mark. And there's Ugochukwu. Well, open three, Leku. And a quick look ahead. The ultra-athletic Sean Kirk. We saw him get that block, pick up the foul earlier. Made a couple of free throws. And you spoke about that team depth where Coach Gottfried usually will only play 7, maybe 8 players in a rotation, but that's getting expanded this year. And then maybe even outside of that normal rotation is a guy like Sean Kirk.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Kirk's a good player. He's really improved his game. He's just caught up in a numbers game right now, but you never know what's going to happen with injuries. There will be a set rotation that NC State will kind of find themselves in. But, right now, again, it's the luxury of having about 9 really quality players.
Kirk misses just a bit short. Pokes it away from Ledoux. And the southpaw will swish it from the baseline. Caleb Ledoux, a little bit higher rated than his brother Jacob, but those two are identical, and they told me they're absolutely inseparable. It doesn't matter, roommates on the bus traveling to the game, always talking just the absolute best of friends.
That's great to hear. I tell you what, they're going to both score a lot of points for McNeese State in the next 3.5 years, no doubt about it. Shooting 44% from 3 coming into the game. That's really filling it up. And his brother, not off to quite as hot a start, but they say he also is a great shooter.
Yeah, both of them tremendous athletes, both all-state at the 1A level in Louisiana. You can see with their athleticism, they must have been a problem in high school. Just impossible to guard the two of them. Only 8 to shoot. Ledoux will fade away and get his own miss off a Capita tip. And there's another Ted Capita rebound. That's 8 for him. He leads the team. He's played just 14 minutes, but he's been crashing the glass.
Yeah, the ball sometimes finds Ted Capita, and that's because he's in good position. And when you're in good position, a lot of times good things happen.
And Yurt 7 there, that's his 3rd foul. And let's see if we can get a replay of this. Is it just that he's a little late to the movement?
He is. That's a good call there. He's just a little bit late getting there, and the defender's got to have time to get around the screen.
And the Wolfpack fans with the applause as Darius Hicks will come in for his first minutes. Ted Capita coming out on the other side for the Cowboys. Here comes Labarius Hill in for Stephen Ugochukwu.
I'll tell you, Darius Hicks had a good start to the season, was playing a lot of minutes when Capita and Yurt 7 were out. Very active, good athlete, quick on his feet, and he's got a bright future ahead of him.
There's Leku from the corner. That's the shot he was looking for just a minute ago. And that's 8 points for the redshirt freshman from Dallas, Texas, off the bench. Here at 7, long 2. You can see for a big guy, he's got pretty good rotation on his shot, even if it doesn't go in.
Just needs more repetitions, more practice, more game speed, but he has all the tools to be a great player.
Darius Hicks got a fingertip on it, and that will take us to the under 8 timeout. It'll be McNeese State ball when we return. The Wolfpack lead it by 31 points here at home. Final game before the Christmas break for NC State and McNeese State. It's the Wolfpack up big here. 7:51 remaining here in the second half. Take a look at NC State upcoming schedule. They've got one final non-conference game. That's here at home against Rider before they hit the road to start ACC play. And you see 3 of the first 4 on the road.
I'll tell you, it gets strong. You got to be ready because you're playing teams that are not quite ACC caliber teams, and then all of a sudden, boom, it hits you all at once. The ACC, again, this year is going to be just great basketball. Every night you play, you're going to be playing against a team that, is big-time NCAA type caliber team.
How about Richard Laku into double figures, and he's shown he's willing to shoot it. The block inside from Hill. Not many people can contend with Yurt 7's size when he gets that kind of position down low, but boy, Labarius Hill with 3 blocks in the game now.
Right, he's got to be able to get the ball down there and be able to make a strong move and score. He got the ball nice and low where you want it, but again, he needs more games, more touches to prepare himself for the rest of the season.
Sean Kirk will try a 3. Chased down by Darius Hicks. You mentioned Hicks was getting some minutes earlier in the year before it became, to use your words, a numbers game kind of later on. But Hicks, a part of that 6-man freshman class that was ranked, consensus top 10 in the country. He'll pick up a charge here, but you look at Dennis Smith Jr., Omer Yurt 7, Markel Johnson, Ted Capita, and then Hicks and Spencer Newman.
Yeah, good defense there, and Hicks just lowered his shoulder, but I love the way Hicks is so active. He's always going after loose balls, rebounds, and if you want minutes, that's the kind of thing you need to do.
6 minutes, 30 seconds remain. Burr will look to take it to the hoop himself. Fouled by Markel Johnson. His second foul and the team's 8th. It was a shooting foul. So it'll be 2 shots for the senior point guard from Ruston, Louisiana. Second team All-Southland last year. Led the team in points, better than 15. And leads the team this year, 4.5 assists per game, which is 4th in the Southland. It's interesting, you look at this conference, and McNeese State picked 8th by the coaches, 7th by the SID, so not really expected to contend, but they are optimistic that with the Ledoux twins and just this young team where they've got 9 of their 14 players are underclassmen, that they can maybe fly under the radar and finish much higher. You might remember the Southland last year. Sam Houston State and Texas A&M Corpus Christi are 2 of the favorites, but last year, as Dorn will hit a pull-up, last year Stephen F. Austin was one of the darlings of the tournament coming out of the Southwest.
They were fun to watch, too. They got to the Sweet 16 and really put on a good show. But it's a good mid-level conference. My nephew plays for Southeastern. And they're in the Southland Conference, and I'm going to try to make it to a game. The McNeese State athletic director is Bruce Hemfield, and he was the former athletic director at Fuquay Arena. And so he invited me to come to a game. I said, how about I come to the game when my nephew's playing? He said, sure.
That's perfect. That's a good trip. Got a foul on Kirk going the other way. Some offensive fouls here. And Poche just stood in there and took that one.
Credit McNeese State. They're standing in there taking charges when you're down 30 points.
Yeah.
I mean, that shows you what kind of character those kids have.
Coached by Dave Simmons, and that's what, was preached not only by Coach Clifford of the Hornets, but, of course, every day by Dave Simmons, as Johnson just does save this one. In fact, on Tuesday night when they were getting a tour of the Hornets facility, Coach Simmons said, I was really glad Coach Clifford took the time, and he was saying a lot of things that I say, and I was happy he said that, because maybe, if they hear it from somebody else and coming from an NBA guy, he said, maybe then it'll sink in. You got to take advantage and play with all the energy.
Yeah. Coaches want to have other people say what they're preaching all the time.
Yeah.
But especially when you're hearing it from an NBA coach, because these players nowadays, they look up to the NBA players, the NBA coaches. Here you see a nice drive, and, you're at 7 going straight up, but that's the kind of call you get when you're up 30.
A couple of players went in to check in. Capita of NC State presumably will come in here for Yurt 7, and he will. And for McNeese State, Howard Thomas is back in. He'll replace Hill. And here comes Adrian Brown as well. So Yurt 7 comes out, 4 fouls on him. And still kind of trying to adjust to just to how the college game is officiated. And, you know, through his first couple of games, it's kind of easy to take for granted that, you know, it's just his third game.
That's right. You know, I think that they need to be patient. Oh, what a great pass. Markel Johnson hits the streaking Rowan. I tell you, Rowan's a great athlete, and Johnson very unselfish.
Good finish inside by Burr, but yeah, how about Sean Kirk is a human pogo stick.
He is, and you know, he needs to just develop his game, be patient, keep working. He's not getting a lot of minutes, but a guy like Sean Kirk can really put in a lot of time and try to become a much better player. He's got things he needs to work on, but his upside is very bright.
Doran just does hit the back iron. And here comes McNeese State. We haven't seen quite the same frenetic pace we were expecting, but here's a run out. Johnson, he'll give this one back. You
gotta love that. Markel Johnson streaking out. You could see Markel Johnson looking at Sean Kirk, and you knew what was gonna happen next.
So Sean Kirk with a couple of huge dunks will take us to break. Nice feed by Markel Johnson. Alongside Chris Corciani, I'm Andrew Sanders, welcoming you back into the PNC Arena. 83-55 our score at the under 4 timeout. NC State, they have won 7 games, all 7 they played here at home in the PNC, and 4 in a row, looking to make it 5 straight here tonight against McNeese State. In the first ever meetings between these two teams, Adrian Brown is fouled. He'll go to the free throw line. You know, the Wolfpack, 9-2 start for the 4th time in the 5 years Mark Gottfried has been head coach prior to this season. A win tonight, and it looks like it's going that way, would be the best start since the 2012-2013 team, which started at 14-2.
Right, well, they got tested early. You know, Georgia Southern gave them a good game. They've had a number of close games, and a lot of times that helps a young team. They grow up, they mature, and they learn how to win close games, and that's something that benefits you when you get into tougher conference play.
And one of those losses to a top 10 team in Creighton. That came in the Paradise Jam, and then a loss in the ACC Big Ten Challenge on the road at Illinois. Tough step back from Johnson.
Yeah, that Creighton team, they're fun to watch. Watched them the other night. They've got 5 perimeter three-point shooters on the floor at all time. Very difficult to defend that, and that's a team that really could make a deep run come March.
Yeah, they're going to certainly be tested in the Big East when you're talking about number 1 Villanova. Butler as well looks pretty good. So the Big East going to be a pretty tough conference as well. Again, ACC is looking like the best conference in the country, but Big East has got some, especially at the top end of that conference, they have some premier teams. Kirk will turn it over, a little miscommunication.
I'll tell you, there's some teams nationally that are just so much fun to watch. UCLA comes to mind. You know, what Alford has done there is amazing. And, you know, they've got LA thinking a little bit about college basketball. It's always been a big sports professional town, but now they've got, you know, the students excited and the whole community of LA, which you haven't seen for many years.
Well, as a whistle here, and the fans are excited because here come some of the walk-ons for NC State. When the Rams are playing the way they are, would you rather watch the Rams or would you rather watch Lonzo Ball?
I'll tell you what, no question, Lonzo Ball is fun to watch. He's the kind of guard that can dominate the game without even scoring. One of the best passers I've seen in the college game, probably since Jason Kidd. He's very similar style of play.
So into the game for NC State now, Chris Brickhouse along with Tucker Thompson and number 13, Chris Corciani Jr. He'll throw the lob. It was there.
Short-armed it a little. Needed to throw it up just a little bit more. That's his buddy and roommate, Chris Brickhouse. That would have been nice, and the crowd would have really appreciated that.
just was tipped away. Got a minute 30 to go here. And Thompson will get his own miss.
Tell you what, he came in and he's got a shot, a rebound, and a bucket all in one possession.
Yeah, fill it up. I tell you what, something else in play right now. NC State has scored 90 or more in the last 2 ball games, which is the first time that's happened since 2005-2006. Here's a block by Thompson. And again, the crowd, they love these minutes.
Yeah, they do. And, it's nice for these kids to get time. They work extremely hard in practice, and, to be able to reward it with a few minutes is really special. Here you see the ball come in, and I think both of them get credit for a half a block there.
That's right. That's like a sack, a little half sack. First free throw is good by Howard Thomas. But as I was saying, not since 05-06 has NC State had back-to-back 90-point games. And it's in question right now if they'll get to 90 in this one. 3 in a row would be the first time that's happened since 1995-96 season, the 3 opening games of 1995.
Well, they can score some points.
And you won't often see a crowd this incensed about a non-foul call in a 28-point ball game.
Here you see a nice little penetration from Junior. Drops it down underneath, but no call.
Corciani Jr. misses it. It'll stay on this end.
Love to see the NC State bench all up and excited. And again, that goes back to what I said earlier in the broadcast, is that this NC State team, they got great chemistry. They like one another. They do things together. But, I think that's a great show of respect and being a good teammate when you've got the starters and all the regulars up cheering on the rest of the team.
Fans want Corciani to shoot it. He will. Kirk will give him another look. Little floater.
A little kiss off the glass.
So how about that? Chris Corciani Jr. gets on the stat sheet.
Tell you the trivia now would be there's 2 NC State players tonight that were born in Turkey. Can you name them?
Well, definitely Omer Yurtseven is one.
The other one would be Christopher Jr.
Born in Turkey when you were playing in Europe. That's great.
Right.
Well, he might go for 4 here. At the buzzer, Corciani scores. Count it. And everybody off the bench for NC State. This is a team that really enjoys playing together. And what a great finish for the Pack, an 89-57 victory.
Well, they've got to be real pleased with the way they played. They played extremely well the first half, but what's really impressive is the way they came out the second half, and they didn't let their foot off the pedal. So that's the beauty of this win for NC State.
So the Wolfpack improved to 10-2, and McNeese State falls to 3-8. Again, the final score, NC State 89, McNeese State 57. We appreciate you all tuning in. For our great crew here in Raleigh and my partner, Chris Corciani, I'm Andrew Sanders saying good night from Raleigh, where the Wolfpack win it big. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.